Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Keegan from the Poke2 here, and today guys we're going to be going over my Chaos level 50 Graveborn and Blightcaller build, aka Plagueborne. If you couldn't tell by the clips at the start, this is a companion build. I have not done a companion build in a very long time, so this was actually a lot of fun for me to do. The best thing about this build is you don't need a Buffmeister, although the Buffmeister is going to be a massive damage increase, especially when you're dealing with those tankier mobs and tankier bosses. I'm also using a lot of gear I have not used in builds before, so I've been super excited to get this out for you guys, so hopefully you guys enjoy. But let's not muck around, let's jump straight into the skill. Starting off with the skill tree, we are going to talk about the action skill, and that is Plague Storm. I did it in my Rage Storm build just recently. Plague Storm is ridiculously strong. It's like a massive echo essentially. All the damage that you do will get sucked up into Plague Storm, and it will drop back down as ability damage, applying all your other damage multipliers as well. So it can hit really hard. It's just insane for nuking bosses and mobs. So that is why we are taking Plague Storm, and obviously because we are using guns with wings and companion, we are dealing a lot of extra damage, and that is going to help Plague Storm just deal a bucket ton more damage. Now starting off with the Graveborn tree guys, we are going to be maxing out Faithful Thralls. Faithful Thralls is just pinnacle for any companion build, because for every companion we have out, we're going to gain increased damage dealt. Now we're going to get 9% increased damage dealt, so we can get easily 10 to 12 companions out with this build. So we are going to be getting over 100% extra damage dealt nearly at all times. We are also maxing out Essence Drain. This is just a great way to get our spells back, whether it be the Lovestruck Bow or the Buffmeister. It is a kill skill. We're going to be getting kills all the time with this build, so you get your spell cooldown refresh quite quickly. We are maxing out Dark Pact. This is just going to increase our dark magic damage, which is going to go hand in hand with our Harvest. Whenever we get a kill, our companions deal bonus dark magic damage for a duration. We can get 18% bonus dark magic damage for our companions on kill, and then obviously the dark magic will also boost our Dark Hydras, which is whenever we get a kill, we have a chance to summon a Dark Hydra companion, which stacks with Faithful Thralls. Dark Hydras is massive because then we can always get 3 companions out as long as we're getting kills. We're also putting 1 point into Punishment. Now this is just basically a filler, but it's actually not too bad to have. When the Demi Lich casts Hellish Blast, there's a chance it will cast again. Now the way the Demi Lich cast Hellish Blast is when we cast a spell. Whenever we cast a spell, he's going to shoot out Hellish Blast, and he's going to have a 20% chance to shoot out again. It's just a little bit of extra more damage, because if you guys didn't know, Hellish Blast can hit pretty hard, and that also will get boosted with the dark magic damage as well. And we're not taking a capstone here because I feel like this is just that much stronger, but we are maxing out Lord of Edges. The Fate Maker gains increased damage dealt and damage reduction the lower our health is. Now we are using a Deathless Mantle, so our health is always going to be at 1 HP, so we're always going to be getting these bonuses at all times. So that is why we are running Lord of Edges, and that is also why we're not running a capstone. Now moving on over to the Blightcaller tree, we are going to be maxing out Geist in the Shell. Now Geist in the Shell is just massive for any gun damage builds at the moment. Whenever a gun's critical hit, we have a chance to create a homing poison bog spirit that seeks out nearby enemies, dealing poison ability damage and exploding on impact. So we have a 20% chance when our gun critical hits to summon these spirit bogs, and they deal 30% of the gun critical hit damage. Now Geist in the Shell is insanely strong because it's going to get boosted by any ability damage multipliers. I'm not sure if it goes through any other damage multipliers, but as long as you're doing big amount of damage, Geist in the Shell can hit insanely hard. I've seen like 1 to 2 mil crits from Geist in the Shell. Now we're also putting 4 points into Active Decay. Now we're not really using any poison weapon, but Active Decay is mainly to boost Geist in the Shell, and as well as Play Storm damage. We are going to be putting 2 points into Wraith Mail guys. A portion of the Fate Maker's maximum war capacity is restored. Now we are going to get 14%. Because we only have 2 points in here. If you had 3 points, you get the 21%. So on kill skill, we're just going to be basically recharging our ward, which is super nice because it's going to go hand in hand with Flawless Edge. Now, we do have 4 points in here from the class mod. Originally, you would get 30% increased damage dealt when ward is full. We're going to be getting 54% at all times. And that you add that with Lord of Edges because we're running Deathless Mantle, always keeping low health, always shield full. So we're going to be getting 79% increased damage at all times. The Deathless Mantle worked really well with Graveborn and Blightcaller. Now we are putting 1 point into Bog Down. Whenever we deal non-status effect poison damage, we're going to create a Water Nova soaking all nearby enemies. This is going to go hand in hand because we are using Frost Companions. We're going to be dealing poison damage with Geist in the Shell, Plague Storm, Poison Buffmeister, Poison Lovestruck Bow, It's going to apply Soaked, and then the Frost Companions are just going to do 50% increased damage, which is massive. We are also taking 3 points to Frostbite. Now, I did play around because we are dealing dark magic damage through Harvest, Dark Hydras. So I was testing out Worst Curse, but I noticed it wasn't proccing as much as what I wanted it to. The only reason we would be taking Worst Curse is because it would increase our ability damage, which would then increase Geist in the Shell and Plague Storm. But I think Frostbite comes out on top because we are using Frost Companion. We are getting the Frost status effect applied more often. I just think Frostbite's a little bit better because we do get it more often, so we can get that 36% increased critical hit chance. We don't care about the melee damage, obviously. And then we are putting the last 3 points into Toxicity. Whenever we apply a poison status effect, our critical hit damage is increased, our companion damage is increased, which is massive, and our action skill cooldown rate is increased as well, which is going to get Plague Storm off cooldown quicker, so we can use Plague Storm all the time, and that is the strongest thing that we have in our arsenal besides our companions. We're getting critical damage and companion damage. It just goes super well with a companion build. So Toxicity is very strong. You're going to see it in a lot of Blightcaller builds, hands down. That's it for the skill, guys. Moving on over to the hero points, we are maxing out strength. We want as much critical hit damage as we can. You're going to see this in nearly every single one of my builds, if not every single one of everybody else's builds too. We are also maxing out attunement because I am using Spoiler Protagonizer Necklace again. So we are maxing out attunement so we can have more of those points for the Protagonizer Necklace. Putting the rest of the points into Wisdom, and I dropped a little bit into Constitution just for more ward, but I don't think it really matters. And moving on over to the inventory, guys, the first weapon we are taking is the Glittering Fear Not. This is a companion build. We are utilizing the guns with wings because I feel like the guns with wings are just a little bit stronger than the pixies, because these ones shoot crossbows out, and the crossbows are going to increase damage by 6% for 4 seconds. The max frostbolt stacks like 25 or 30 or something like that. So we can get a massive increased damage, and because you're throwing so many of these out, you're going to get max crossbolt stacks on the target. The Glittering Fear Not and Plague Storm, you can clear out an Obelisk room in like 15 to 20 seconds. It is just nuts how strong the guns with wings are. I will say one thing about the companions though, pixies, guns or wings, whatever you're using, again, they are like UI. So sometimes they will just fly around and shoot shit that they're not meant to shoot. So that can be super frustrating. As strong as they are, they do have their flaws. If you can't get the guns with wings, your next best bet would be the Whatnot Pixie Pistols. These also scale off gun damage. They just fall short of the guns with wings because obviously we're applying that crossbolt, increases our damage. So they can get that 25 crossbolt stack up pretty quickly. So of course the Whatnot Pistol is just a little bit behind, but they are still insanely strong, especially the poison one, because we are taking a lot of bonuses to poison with our enchant, plague storm, all that kind of stuff. So again, if you can't get the guns with wings, Whatnot pistols are your next best bet. Now moving on to the other companion weapon I am using, and that is the Deodand. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Glittering Deodand. This is a pixie one. Mainly taking this because, as you would know with fearful weapons, when you're chucking fearful weapons, they burn through ammo very quickly, so sometimes you're not getting as much pistol ammo as you would like. That's why I do have the Sword Explosion here and the Deodand. Basically just taking these just for when the Glittering Fear Nots are running low on ammo. I would like to try and get a better one, but for now I just have a volatile one. These are still very strong and very fun to use because they have the ×5. They like shoot like multiple projectiles out. Very cool. You can get Geist of the Shell out very quickly with this weapon. But obviously the Glittering Fear Not, the guns with wings, are the main damage source for this build, as well as Plague Storm. And for the enchant, I just have on spellcast, increase elemental damage by 20%. Like I said, we are taking a Sword Explosion. Don't really use the Sword Explosion at all. It's mainly just there to destroy the quartz faster, and if I run out of bullets on the SMG or the Glittering Fear Not. For the melee weapon, it's really up to you guys. Really, you could probably take a Goblin Pickaxe. The only reason I'm taking the Spellblade is because I've managed to get the new Blightcaller enchant on there, which was why Plague Storm is active. Increases all poison damage by 5% each second for 10 seconds, and then that effect lasts for additional 10 seconds. So you can get 50% increased poison damage, and the reason we want that is for Geist in the Shell and for Plague Storm itself. So I feel like this just edges out against a lot of the other enchants I was using, like on action skill start, increased gun damage. That is the only reason I'm using the Spellblade, but ideally if I could get this enchant on the Goblin Pickaxe, that would be better, because then it gives on melee hits we can get our spell cooldown recharged and our action skill cooldown recharged. For the shield, we are taking an Inspiring Master Rune. This is just going to increase companion damage by 25%. We also have the enchant on here, is why action skill is active, increase companion damage by an additional 50%. This is insanely strong for companion builds, so realistically we're getting 75% from this shield while action skill is active, so huge for a companion build. Moving on to the class mod, if you couldn't tell by my 1 HP and my massive shield, we are using the Deathless Mantle. Now this is a bit of a lucky drop. I actually got this myself. It's not even for Graveborn, it's just Blightcaller and Stabbo. The one that you can potentially get for Graveborn and Blightcaller is this kind of setup here. You can get plus bonuses to Flawless Edge, and you can get Lord of Edges. So essentially you could have an additional 25% damage that I don't have. So if you can get Graveborn and Blightcaller, you're laughing. But for now, this one does do its job very, very well, because it does have bonuses to companion damage, and it's got a gnarly +4 to Flawless Edge, which is giving us an additional 24% increased damage dealt as long as our shield is full. Again, if you could get this in Blightcaller and Graveborn with the stats I just showed you on the underclass mod, this build could be like an extra 25% better. For the necklace, guys, like I said in the hero points, we are using the Protagonize. This is the same one I used in my Rage Storm build. It's very, very strong. I'm having a lot of fun playing around with this this particular necklace. So the Protagonizer increases ability critical hit chance by 3.7% per point into attunement, and we're also getting increased ability critical hit damage by 1.9% per point into attunement. So Geist in the Shell can crit, so this is going to be boosting the absolute crap out of Geist in the Shell, and also Plague Storm. So that is the main reason why we are using Protagonizer. Again, this has bonuses to Frost. We are using Frost Companions, so it's just to help them out. And we are taking a lot of Blightcaller power, because Graveborn power doesn't really matter for this build. The only thing that Graveborn power actually gives is increased bonus dark magic damage by Reaper of Bone, Dire Sacrifice damage, Demi-Lich Companion health and damage, which actually is probably not too bad. Dark Hydra damage and Blast Grass damage would be huge if you were running like the Spell Pixies, but we are using Gun Damage Companions. Basically the Graveborn power is just obsolete. Now moving on over to the spells, guys, I do have two options for you. I wanted to try and do a build that didn't need to rely on Buffmeister, because that's all my builds do. So I have added the Lovestruck Bow in here. Now the Lovestruck Bow is actually really, really good, because it's like the guns with wings. It shoots out crossbolts that are going to increase our damage. These crossbolts are going to increase our damage by 4%. They last for 6 seconds. So if the guns with wings and the Lovestruck Bow are both shooting the same target, you're actually going to get 10% increased damage per crossbolt, because the crossbolt effects stack. You can get up to 250% increased damage with the max crossbolt stack. So the Lovestruck Bows are pretty good, but again, that's a lot of RNG for the guns with wings and the Lovestruck Bow to be both attacking the same target at once. I feel like the Lovestruck Bow has some of the weirdest UI. They just fly around to any target. They don't really go to the targets in front of you like the guns with wings do. It's super weird. I don't know if any of you other guys have experienced stuff like that, but the Lovestruck Bow is actually pretty good. But of course, if you want to do the most damage possible, the Buffmeister is still going to be the way to go. Both these spells are poison, because I still want an extra way to apply poison damage to get soaked on the target, so the guns with wings do more damage because they're frost. So that's why these are poison. The Buffmeister, it does have Pew and Ka-Chow, which is super beneficial to this build, because Pew while it does not increase your gun damage, it's going to increase gun accuracy, fire rate, and reload speed. So you're going to be able to throw pixies out quicker. They're going to be shooting quicker, and you can get more Geist out and do crazy amount of damage. And Ka-Chow is going to be increasing the Geist that they manage to proc, and also increase Plague Storm's damage. So of course Buffmeister is doing an insane amount more damage than the Lovestruck Bow, but it's cool to actually see a build that I can do without Buffmeister. Moving on over to the rings, guys, we are taking an Ascended Sharksbane ring, which is massive. We're going to get a 52.6 increase to gun damage, as well as we have passes on there for pistol magazine size and also pistol critical hit damage. Now, usually this wouldn't apply to the spell scaling pixies, because we are using companions that scale off gun damage. This critical hit damage should apply to them, if I'm correct. And then the other ring I'm taking is not another Sharksbane. I wanted to use something different as well, and that is a Felty Oath I just managed to get. It has a massive 40.9% to Fear 4 gun damage, because we are companions of Fear 4 weapons and scale off gun damage. this should apply to them. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. And also we're getting critical hit damage as well. So our pistol is actually getting like 50% increased critical hit damage, which is just nuts. And we're also getting 20% fear for critical hit chant. Now on swapping our current weapon, this effect is increased by 50%. Now, sometimes I just like switching between the pistol and the SMG just to try and get this effect to roll. You do notice a slight increase in damage, but it's not really that great, so I wouldn't really worry about trying to switch your weapons all the time. Again, this is just great because it has the increased critical hit damage, critical chance. And that is basically it for the build video, guys. If this video did help you out, please leave a like on the video. It greatly helps the channel out. I had a lot of fun making this build. It was fun using a whole bunch of stuff I've never used before, as well as not using a buff master. I did it, I think. I have more build videos in the works, guys. They will be coming out in the future, so stay tuned for those. And that is it from me, guys. Until next time, stay safe. Peace out.